Well, Dogs did what they had to do to maintain their number one position in the rankings. They're ranked number one in both the AP and the coaches poll. And I think that's the appropriate place for them to be right now. That means the Dogs will head into the showdown with the Gators as the number one team in the country. Tennessee jumping up to number three in the media poll and number four in the coaches poll. Michigan moved up. I think that's appropriate too. But look, Georgia now has more than double. Well, not quite more than double than every other team in terms of first place votes. They've been the most consistent team all season long. In terms of team, they probably have the second best win, perhaps the best over Oregon. It depends on what happens moving forward with Alabama and Oregon both. But I think this is a good, we are at the natural halfway point for Georgia, which is the bye week for the Florida game. And this team is playing strong. They've outscored their last two opponents, 97 to 10. That has been the typical run for them this year. And, I like where Georgia's at right now. I think Alabama has some issues that I don't know if they can solve them, but they can maybe mask over the top of them. That might be a way to do it. It is kind of curious that Tennessee went from number six to getting 15 first place votes. I'm not sure about that part, but they'll get their chance to take the number one spot exclusively when they get to Athens in a few weeks. Of course, they have to take care of Kentucky before they do that. And then Ohio State will also have a date with Iowa, who is trash, and then Penn State, who is not much better than trash, frankly. Hey, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION today. We're offering t-shirts with it, Red Zone t-shirts. This is the type of shirt that you're going to get, Talk Kirby to me, or the Red Zone shirt. Just let me know immediately, and I'll send it to you. The forwards from Jeff Foxworthy has all sorts of great stuff about Georgia's 2021 national championship season. This is a great gift for someone, as we're not so far from the that season. So I think for Georgia moving forward, I don't the lines, for like Georgia, Florida, it's even though neither team plays, it's a little bit early for that line to come out. But I anticipate them being a pretty significant favorite over over the Gators, and we will see. Like the early number for that line, and these are summer numbers. Was Georgia plus? Georgia minus a touchdown and two touchdowns and a little bit. Um, it's going to be more than that. I would imagine it's going to be around 20 or so. It's going to be curious to see what the Tennessee line is in week 10 of the season. There were some early numbers there. It was not dissimilar from the Florida game. I think Georgia is probably still going to be a pretty significant favorite over the Vols, but that game, the summer number there also was pretty uh, pretty large, and I don't know if that will stick or not or what. I mean, we're just going to have to see. But Tennessee is certainly playing much better, and I don't think there's much doubt about that. Whether they can stick with the Dogs in Athens, one one game does not win you the national championship. One game does not get you. Um, one game is one game. I mean, if we were predicating everything off one game, we could just focus on Georgia and Missouri or Georgia and Oregon. We could just focus on Tennessee Pitt, where they won on the last play of the game, or we could talk about, Tennessee LSU, which is probably the best game they played this season. Alabama, is it the thing about Saturday night, and I did not talk about this in Leggy's thoughts that much, is that, Tennessee, excuse me, Tennessee, Alabama, with their loss to Tennessee, they're not really. I mean, nothing's necessarily changed for for Bama. That these teams are all um, certainly in the middle of the playoff mix slash hunt. Alabama can still win the conference and certainly can still win the national championship. So I don't know what to say about this stuff sometimes. You cannot let one particular game end you. Let me tell you this real quick. We've got a very good offer if you do not want to go get food tonight. I mean, a lot of y'all got kids. A lot of y'all got stuff to do. You get later coming back from church than you thought or wanted to. You have a longer night at school, whatever. Jot this down. For a limited time, folks who watch this channel can get 50% off of a $20 value from our friends at DoorDash, and zero delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app, which I'm going to include down below, and enter the code DAWG. That's 50% off a $20 value and zero delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter the code DAWG, dog, right there. And don't forget, it's dog for 50% off and $20 value, zero delivery fees for DoorDash. Subject to change, terms apply. The link is right down below. Now, let me just add this real quick. A lot of y'all are in Atlanta. You can get Cheesecake Factory delivered to your house. Cheesecake Factory, Chipotle, Popeyes, guys like that. I mean, that's a great deal. I mean, this is an awesome thing to take advantage of. And, Georgia needs to take advantage of their situation as we get closer to what I'm calling their actual season. That's a bit harsh, but listen. Here's the top 10 for the AP. I'm just going to stick with the AP because it's not overwhelmingly dissimilar from the coaches poll. Georgia at 1, with Ohio State at 2, Tennessee at 3, jumping both Michigan and Clemson as well as Alabama. So Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Tennessee 3. Michigan at 4. I thought Michigan played really well this week in punking Penn State like they always do. Clemson at 7. They just continue to win. I don't know that they're, that what else can you say? They continue to win. I don't think they're great. But one predicate, you got to win. Alabama at 6-1 is the number 6 team in the country. Mississippi, the Rebels, they continue to win. It was not unbelievable against Auburn. 7-0, the Rebels will host Alabama soon enough. They've got LSU this weekend. TCU, Texas Christian at number 8. California, Los Angeles at number 6, and then the Ducks of Eugene, Oregon. So the Oregon Ducks are top 10 in both polls. I think one question is who's the best one-loss team in the country? It would be Oregon's got a very strong case. Oklahoma State's pretty good. SC, Wake Forest only losses to Clemson in overtime. Syracuse is the most disrespected team as it relates to probably the top 25 poll. Syracuse has won a lot of football games, y'all. Their defense is very good. I am skeptical that they will go to Clemson and win this weekend. But, let's just see what happens. Clemson has played well lately, and they are a significant favorite over Syracuse. They are a 2-touchdown favorite. But that has not prevented Syracuse from beating Clemson in the recent past either, and / giving them a very hard time, even in Death Valley. So I think that's a big game for both teams. But that league is just the one division is not that bad, which is the division we keep talking about. But the other is just really horrible. And it looks like North Carolina, which stole the game from Duke last night, is probably going to win that division. I really don't know who's actually the ACC is. Georgia Tech's in second place on the other side. Georgia Tech is in second place on the other side with a 1.5 game lead over Pittsburgh. That's how bad the other side is. Okay. So, ACC is rough, but they've got two teams in the top 15, and well, three, I guess, with Wake Forest. But it's just not much in the way of Clemson for Clemson from here on out. In Georgia and Tennessee, I wouldn't say they're in a similar situation. I mean, Georgia's got to deal with State. They've got to deal with the Gators. I mean, they should stomp Florida. Okay. But they've got to deal with State, who just really, that was not a good loss to Kentucky. I mean, that was just not a good loss. And and then for Tennessee, they've got to play Kentucky. I am skeptical that Kentucky will beat Tennessee in Knoxville. We saw that in 2020, but I am skeptical of that happening. They really beat Tennessee's brains in, but this is a different Tennessee program. And then on top of that, you've got the just what will be a colossal game if they both handle their business with Tennessee and the Dogs in a few weeks. But I think that game is great and everything, but if you can't kind of get geeked up to kick your rival's face in, then you missed a lot of the last 25 years of Georgia Florida. I mean that game is the most important game of the season. It just is, and it sets the tone for the final part of your year. Georgia did not play well offensively against Florida. But let's not forget what Kirby had to say. Look at the grin on this guy's face right here. Physically, I want to break them. And there was a lot of adult language, but they, Georgia did what they needed to do to get the job done against Florida, set that marker down, and said, "Hey, we are a really good team. We're coming." And from that point forward, they did. So I think the Dogs at number one. It makes sense. I think Ohio State. I would look. Last week I was telling y'all I would vote Ohio State number one, but now we've just got more data. And yeah, a Vanderbilt game matters because all these games matter. Okay, it was a year ago when I knew in Nashville, in the press box in Nashville, that Georgia could win the national championship. The Vandy game this year did not prove that to me. It just proved that they are really good still. Only allowing 150 yards. I don't care who you're playing. 150 yards. And everybody. I listen to radio sometimes on Sunday morning, and there is this notion that Tennessee is going to score no matter what against every. I mean, it's not always like that. They didn't score against Georgia last year at home, so we'll see. But I think the Dogs. They've got an extremely good defense. They're one of three teams in the country that has top 10 defense, top 10 offense. The other two are Michigan and Ohio State, which both look good. But I have to say, Michigan, to me, looked really good Saturday. I mean, they were having none of Penn State's foolishness. And I can assure you, whenever James Franklin is involved, there's a lot of foolishness involved.